Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Teachers Tea Time podcast. My name is Mark and I hope you're doing well. This podcast is about, by and for anyone who has ever had anything to do with schools and education. We are proud to be a member of Edjacent, a design collaborative that connects educators to their legacy. Learn more at edjacent.org. I have a mug of tea ready, so let's sit back, relax, and get on with the show. In today's episode, we conclude our conversation with retired principal and Edjacent designer, Cheryl Zigrang. Today, Cheryl takes a positive spin on the pandemic, describes her new role post-retirement as she develops her skills as a life coach, and we look at what we can change when we exit the pandemic. Cheryl also gives some very useful, empowering advice to educators.
And I think we saw that there's been a lot of research on post-stress growth. And I think we saw a lot of growth during this time. And one of the positive changes I saw was I think that parents really stepped up and tried to help the teachers however they could, because they saw, first of all, they saw how difficult it was at home to try to work with the children. But then they also realized all the stressors that the teachers were under and how hard they worked and all the measures that they took to help the children. So I really saw that parents got a better picture of what teachers do, and therefore expressed appreciation so much more than we've ever seen in the past. And we've had appreciative parents, but I have to say that it really opened a whole new world to them.
Yeah, I think having this emergency transition to online learning really pulled the curtain back on the work that educators do, and laid it bare. And that's powerful work. And I think it's you're right. It's something that we can leverage as we move forward, because the parents are partners in student growth, and having them see how complex it is has been key. So the other thing that so in this last year you made the decision to retire. Okay, was that an easy decision, a hard decision? How did you feel that was it just time was up?
Well, I still was so happy doing my job, and I told the teachers there was never one day in my entire career that I didn't come to work with a smile on my face. And even last year, with all the things and challenges it brought, I still was so happy with working with the staff that we had, the children and the families. And I just felt like it was time for someone new to transition and take over, and for me to enjoy retirement, that it was just time. I wanted to do it while I still enjoyed what I was doing, and I was still making a positive impact.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you've seen the statistic, but I know at least it's an older statistic, but it says that educators tend to only live for 3 years into retirement anyway. So we need to do it while we can enjoy it.
Yes, I still wanted to be young enough that I could do all the things that I like to do.
Absolutely. So now you are retired. What's next for you?
Well, I really want to transition, hopefully, into something very similar. I would like to start coaching, and have considered doing life coaching. I'm going through a certification process, and I would like to take what I've learned in my experience over the years and just hopefully help others take action on their personal and professional goals to move them forward. And so I'm really looking forward to that. I think that it will be helpful to the clients, as well as just, I always try to look at the big picture, and it's like, okay, if one person can move forward, they're going to be moving other people forward, and it goes on and on. So it's going to be a new challenge for me, a new opportunity, and yet I hope to use a lot of the experience I've gained over the years in that transition.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the fact you point out that the impact that we can have in helping one educator develop something or develop themselves in a way, because that now the knock-on effect is almost immeasurable, because you talk about immediately 30 children plus their families, then the next year another 30, and then the cumulative effect of helping develop educators is massive. So you made the decision to join us at Edjacent and become a designer, and our sort of purposes all align. How do you see the role of a group like Edjacent moving forward, especially as we're coming into this hopefully post-pandemic world?
Well, I think that we all, again, just like we've talked about with our staff or teachers, I think at Edjacent, we all have different strengths and different places where we'd like to go to make a difference. And for me, that's moving others forward in hopefully that coaching role, and whether that's personal or professional, because I think they go hand in hand. If you're feeling joy as a person, it will help you in your profession. And the same way, if you can find joy and success in your profession, it definitely makes your personal life better as well. So I think that at Edjacent, I'm hoping that will be the biggest role I play, although I am also looking forward to doing some other things as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, I think we're noticing that there's quite a few folks who are looking at hitting retirement, but they want to do more and stay involved. And this is something that we can do in our collaborative, is have a venue for them to at least still stay current as educators, but pursue it in their own way. And I think that's going to be fascinating work as well. So looking forward, you've had a long and illustrious career. You've been in the classroom, you've been an administrator, you've now got this extra phase coming along as you work through retirement in helping others. How do you see public education developing as we go for the next few years? What do you think is going to be the keys to being successful?
Well, I think that this pandemic, in a way, talking about that stress moving us forward positively, I'm hoping that we will take all the lessons that we've learned and know that we need to almost take a step back and reflect on what is the most important thing for children.
Mm-hmm.
And then what is the most important thing for the teachers and administrators and support staff, and how can we move children forward, but take into account all those other things, and how can we do it creatively? We've always known that choice is what children need, and teachers, agency, ownership, all those things, social emotional learning. We've touched on a lot of them today. We've always known that those are the right things to be doing. But now that we've had to focus on different things, okay, what is the most effective way to show success or to show mastery or to show improvement? We need to take a look at that, because now we have children doing online learning, children with and without resources. That's been the case. With and without resources has always been the case. But now that we've gone virtually, that's opened that window. So I think we need to take all the lessons we've learned during this pandemic time. And to me, it's the perfect opportunity to make the changes, because we have a reason to make the changes. And we've always had the reason to make the changes, but now we can say, okay, we see it. Just like I told the teachers at the very beginning of the pandemic of last year, I said, this is a perfect opportunity for you to do the very best work you've ever done, because you are looking into those children's homes and seeing their families and seeing their pets and seeing their
my cat comes across the screen right now.
Yeah. Seeing them as a whole person, as part of a family. And so, before we said, build relationships with your children, build relationships. But what does that mean? Well, now you actually are seeing them, and you can I love your cat. What's your cat's name? Oh, your stuffed animal on your bed. What do you like to do? So in the bigger picture, public education, okay, we've had this window into this whole new realm. What are we going to do with it? And let's move forward and not take 20 more years to figure it out. Let's do it. And to me, this is a perfect opportunity and time to do so.
Yeah, there's things that we've done around the country which, we thought would have been unheard of before, like, make sure all kids get fed. What a concept. We're not asking questions, feed our kids. Look, and it happens in schools, and we know that learning can go on. And the fact that we realizing that we have to look after our students' mental health, and acknowledge them as individuals, and look at the way they access their learning, and then we can have conversations about the curriculum. And I'm completely with you on that. The pandemic has really given us a chance to discuss what matters and what matters now and what's going to matter next. And I'm really hoping that the momentum and the change and the shift of the shift for positive change can persist. Once we get into this next school year, we can start to reevaluate it a little bit.
Even the choice for students to learn virtually or not as part of public education has been a huge stepping stone.
Because we know plenty of students who don't actually like being in school. That physically is a problem, and it stops them learning. And so I love the fact that we've found an opportunity here to say, why don't we do what kids actually want and need rather than what we think is best, and challenge some of those narratives about, what's a standard mean, and can you lose learning, and all that sort of stuff. That's going to be really powerful. So if your advice for a teacher in a classroom right now, what would it be?
Trust your instincts, believe in your ability to know what's best for children as a whole. Yes, you might need support, in some curriculum and academic ways, but that you are the leader in that classroom. You know what is best. So take that and be confident in your ability to know what to do, and then do what you know. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's great advice, even not in a pandemic. But yeah. And that's what years of experience gets you. That's fantastic. So, any last minute words or messages for people listening to the podcast?
Just that we're all in this together, whether pandemic or not, and that we all have such important roles to play in whatever we've chosen to do as a part of this big world of education. You're just so important and valued, and bring that to work every day, knowing that you can make such a positive difference in the lives of, again, not just the children, but all those around you. And just take that viewpoint every day when you get up and you go to work. It's like, I am really valued, and what I do is important. And, I'm making a difference in the big picture, a big landscape, not just in your classroom, not just in your school, but a much, much bigger picture.
Absolutely. And I'd like to add to that you're not alone, and there's plenty of people that have your back too. Just got to find them. That's where the power comes from.
Yes. And it's always good to find people who are going to support you and lift you up.
Excellent. Well, Cheryl, thank you very much for taking the time to talk about you and your career and your why, and how we can do this job well and support each other. I'm really looking forward to what you're going to do with us at Edjacent, and the coaching and advice. And I'm going to learn so much from having you on board with us.
Well, thank you so much. I'm excited to be, challenged with a new opportunity. And I have to thank you for allowing me to be on this podcast. I am an avid podcast listener, but I never would have thought I would actually be on a podcast. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're so glad you're able to share your wisdom. And hopefully we'll have you back on as well for, other things that we do, because we need people who know stuff to help us out.
Well, I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks again to Cheryl for sharing her wisdom and knowledge and being so supportive of educators as she goes ahead and navigates the next phase of her career. And like I said in the podcast and in the interview, I'm really looking forward to working with her as part of the Edjacent collaborative in the next 12 months or so. Anyway, if you'd like to get in touch with her, you can email her directly at cheryl@edjacent.org. And I'll have that email address in the show notes too. So this was the last episode for 2021. I've got to say, it's been a tough year for everyone. The pandemic is nowhere near over. And I remember back in spring, as the vaccines were being developed and rolled out, things were rather hopeful. However, with the new Omicron strain about to disrupt the holiday plans, we're faced with even more uncertainty about the future. Of course, this impacts the mood around everyone involved in public education. And I can safely say that at the time of recording, teachers and students are not doing so well. The thing is, pretending that everything is normal and that we should carry on as such, when clearly things are not normal, is just unsustainable. I know many educator friends who are feeling burnt out, ignored, undervalued, and disillusioned. And if that is you, I have a very simple message. You are not alone. I understand how you feel, and I hear you. Furthermore, you have friends in the Edjacent Design Collaborative who are here for you when you need us. We value who you are as educators and people, and we appreciate all that you have managed to accomplish, no matter how small you feel it is, in this last year. So with that said, I'm really hoping everyone takes some time for themselves this holiday season. Do what you can to relax, unplug, and unwind. Whatever you do, it's certainly well deserved. I'll be back sometime in January with more interviews, more teacher stories, and maybe a couple of history education episodes to keep my students happy. But until then, that was episode 35 of the Teachers Tea Time podcast. This podcast is a proud member of Edjacent, a design collaborative that connects teachers to their legacy. If you are looking for community, coaching, or content based around your needs, point your browser to www.edjacent.org and become a member for less than the cost of a peppermint mocha a week. So go ahead and navigate to www.edjacent.org and choose Become a Member. For me, it's the stories of teachers, students, and school communities that matter. As such, this podcast is only possible with the help and support of its listeners. Please leave positive reviews wherever you are able. If you're an iTunes or a Spotify subscriber, leaving a good review can really help our visibility. Also, please don't keep this podcast to yourself. Tell your friends to subscribe and listen too. One thing we all have in common is that we've been to school. Everyone has an educational story to share. So if you'd like to contribute to the pod in any way, if you have a story to share, long, short, tragic, or comic, if you have comments to make about the podcast or just want to say hi, you can send an email to teachersteattimepod@gmail.com. Or alternatively, you can send emails to me directly using mark@edjacent.org. I love to read what you have to say. If social media is your thing, you can follow me on Twitter @markdearcop. You can find our contact information, copies of the show notes, and you can download previous episodes of the podcast at www.teachersteattimepod.com. The podcast artwork was created by Phaedra. The music, opening and closing music, was by Bryan Boyko. It's been my pleasure to be your host today. As always, thank you for listening.